Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones too late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr Boyce TV. Here we are.
I would like to say welcome to drboycetv.com. drboycetv.com is the home for intelligent Black people. So if you're Black and intelligent, throw your hands up. Let us know what you believe. Let us know what you represent. Put your hashtag B1 in the chat. And I'm going to let the family know that we are live. If you'd like to know when we go live, every now and then I send out text messages. All you have to do to get on the text list, you can do this right now if you want to, is text the word Boyce to 31996. Text Boyce to 31996. And what I want to talk about is Mr. Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton made some interesting comments at the John Lewis funeral. And I think that it really kind of tells you a little bit about what they're really thinking. You know, it reminds me, anybody remember when Ice Cube did that song, No Vaseline, where it was a diss song on NWA? And there was a part in the song where he says, this is what they think about you. This is what they think about you. This is what they think about you. Right. Well, basically, this reminded me of No Vaseline, when it was like, this is what they think about you. Because basically Bill Clinton, committed what some might consider to be a little bit of a snafu. He went up on the stage at the John Lewis funeral, and he made a reference to John Lewis, and he compared him to Stokely Carmichael. He compared him by basically saying that he said the movement, it went a little bit in the direction of Stokely Carmichael, but John Lewis won. John Lewis eventually won, right? So it was really fascinating to hear him say this. And I saw the clip. I didn't watch the whole funeral. No disrespect to anybody, no matter how you feel about John Lewis. He did what he thought was best for the world at that time. To be honest with you, I have to confess that I am not a person that has bought into integration, and I have scientifically proven with logic and receipts why integration, based on most measures of Black quality of life, has not been a win for Black people. If you measure based on economic status, it was not a win for Black people. If you measure based on educational accomplishment, it was not a win for Black people. If you measure based on what's going on in our communities, in terms of, Black people not being shot down, whether it's by cops or by each other, it has not led to progress in our communities. And if you look at things like family staying together, it has not led to progress in our communities. So I think that it's time, and it's funny that I pulled this shirt out of my closet. It's time for us to kind of, do this: intelligence over ignorance. Maybe it's time for us to really start to ask ourselves the right questions about, whether or not certain people who receive our loyalty deserve our loyalty. I'm not telling you who to be loyal to. The only person I'm gonna tell you to be loyal to is yourself. I'm not telling you to be loyal to the Democrats. I'm not here to tell you to be loyal to the Republicans. I'm not here to tell you to be loyal to me. Right? I'm here to tell you to be loyal to you. That's what we call in economics. We refer to that as incentive alignment. Incentive alignment basically says, look, I'm not going to ask you to even do what's best for me. We might be allies, but I'm not asking you to do what's best for me. I want you to do what's best for you if you conclude that doing what's best for me is in alignment with you doing what's best for yourself, right? So for example, if I say, hey, guys, hey, I'm teaching a class on stock market investing. Would you like to sign up? I don't want you to sign up for me. I don't want you to do it as a favor to me. I want you to sign up as a favor to yourself. I want you to sign up as a favor to your children. And if you feel that taking my class benefits you and your children, then you should be there. If you don't, then you shouldn't be there. right? That's the B1 philosophy. The B1, it might as well, maybe it should be called Me One, right? Maybe that's a better way to help us. Maybe instead of B1, it should be Me One. B1 means black first, but Me One can just sort of mean me first, right? You and your family you should start at the top of your priority list every day. And then at that point, you expand outward. After you finish taking care of yourself, you take care of your family. After you finish taking care of your family, you take care of the community. After you take care of your community, then you can take care of the world, right? A lot of times as Black folks, I think that because we've been servants for so long, and because we are such wonderful people, we're just really good people. Like, we love everybody. Y'all know this. Y'all know Black people. When Dylan Roof shot up a whole damn church, and there was a pack of Negroes waiting for him in court to forgive him, right? He went and shot up the whole church. And before he even went on trial, before the evidence had been presented, before the opening arguments even began, before the arraignment, he had a pack of Negroes showing up begging for forgiveness. That, mind you, now these people wouldn't show up for things to celebrate other Black people, right? They're not going to show up necessarily to go fight on behalf of Black folks, but they'll show up to fight on behalf of a man who just shot up everybody in the church, because we just love everybody. That's what we do, right? Okay, so what I'm saying to you though is that same amount of love that you have for everybody else, I just want you to do something that I think is very natural. It should be human nature. I want you to just make sure that you shower at least that much love on yourself. Can we agree on that? Give me a yes in the chat if what I'm saying is making any sense, if you're following what I'm saying. I would love to have some active participation from you guys. Give me a yes or a hashtag B1 if you can at least understand or appreciate what I'm trying to say. All right, so here's what I want to dig into a little bit on Bill Clinton. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. If you haven't hit the thumbs up button, please do that. Hello on Instagram. My Instagram is The Real Boyce Watkins, and it is real. I keep it real. We have honest conversations. I'm going to piss you off at least about 3-4 times a week, because I'm always going to challenge your thinking. Doesn't mean I'm right. Just means I'm going to tell you my truth, and that's what it's going to be. And then at that point, we can fight it out, even because we love each other that much. So Bill Clinton gets up on stage at John Lewis's funeral, and of course we know what this is gonna lead to, right? John Lewis did a lot of things in his life, good or bad. I'm not a John Lewis guy. No disrespect to you if you love John. No disrespect to John. I'm not gonna speak ill on somebody in the grave, but I gotta tell the truth and say, when John Lewis was here, I'm not gonna change what I say about you in death that I would have said if you were still alive. I'm just not gonna do that. I didn't do it when Elijah Cummings passed. I'm not gonna do it when John Lewis passes. I think that we all get old and we pass for a reason. All of us, myself included, we all get older and we pass for a reason. There's a point where your ideas are no longer a fit for the society in which you live. There's a point where your ideas are no longer the hottest, newest, coolest thing in the world, and people have evolved to something different. Even Martin Luther King, before he died, God bless him, was evolving. Martin Luther King started off on this whole integration kick. You know, Martin Luther King started off as a guy who also felt it was okay, that it made sense to go and let a white man bash you upside the head with a billy club just so you can gain the honor of giving him all your money so you can shop in his business. That don't make sense to me. I was born in the 70s, so, in my generation, it just doesn't add up. I'm not going to go and let you beat my ass so I can give you my money. That's why I never, no disrespect to the Greeks, but I'm going to tell you the honest to God truth, the true story. I almost pledged, I almost became an Omega man. I wasn't going to be a Q dog, but I was going to be an Omega man. And when they told me what you have to go through to join the organization and how much money it will cost, it just didn't add up. I said, so wait a minute, I'm going to pay you money to beat my ass. If I'm paying you money, shouldn't I be able to beat your ass? Like, shouldn't I be the one holding the paddle and punch you in the face and smack you upside the head? I don't get it. It just didn't make sense to me, right? So again, don't chalk up my opposition or my concerns about the John Lewis philosophy to me necessarily being right. Maybe you could chalk it up to my personal preference. I just don't think it makes a lot of sense to get your ass beat just so you can give somebody your money. I went through that when I was 11 and a bully beat me up and took my lunch money. I didn't like it then. I wouldn't like it as an adult, right? So it's not logical to me, right? So even Dr. King, if you go back and look at his life, he was evolving out of that ideology. Dr. King was starting to say things like, maybe we're integrating our people into a burning house. You think? You think? Look at America now. If any house is a burning house, America is the poster child for a burning house. America is eating itself alive from the inside out. We're more divided than we've ever been since the Civil War. America is a mess, right? So he also started saying, maybe instead of fighting for civil rights, we should be fighting for silver rights. Maybe in this capitalist society, maybe capital matters in a capitalist society. Now, Dr. King was a brilliant man, but he was also a young man. I'm a few years older than Dr. King was when he died. So in a way, I'm kind of excited about the work that we get to do in the community right now, because I feel like a little bit almost like maybe I'm like an older brother to Dr. King, right? Because when I was his age, I thought the way he thought, but I believe that if he had lived to be my age, his thinking would have evolved, right? So what I'll say to you is this: look, I think that we should absolutely positively give complete props to the John Lewises and the individuals who did what they thought was best, because I too can imagine a time where I would have thought that made sense. I too grew up in an educational system where I was fully indoctrinated to believe that the best thing that could ever happen to a black man is to be next to white folks. I grew up in that same school system that you grew up in, that says that the greatest marker of progress for black people is that white people let you sit next to them in school. I too grew up in the school system that says that your pathway to get out of the hood and to be in a great situation in your life is to get away from black people and go to the suburbs, right? I too grew up in a school system that says that the most accomplished you can be as a black man is to get a white university to admit you into their university or onto their campus so they can put you in debt for the rest of your life until the day you die, right? I too grew up in a system that said that the mark of achievement is to make good grades and be well behaved so that one day a white man will hire you for a high paying job and make you into a distinguished and proud Negro, right? I grew up in that, right? So I know exactly where you're coming from. If you disagree with me, I totally get you, because I would have disagreed with myself 20 years ago. But I've done some thinking since then, and I've evolved. The same way Martin Luther King evolved, I have evolved, and many of you have evolved, right? And so let's go back to Bill Clinton and his comment at the funeral, at the John Lewis funeral. Right. So Bill Clinton is up on the stage. He's much older now. He's probably not, he's probably not pinching as many booties as he used to back in the day, because Bill Clinton was, he was a sucker when it came to those women. Right. And there's all kinds of stories about Bill Clinton, but he's older now. So, we'll cut him some slack. So he gets up there and he gives a speech, and he's talking about John Lewis, and he compares him to Stokely Carmichael. And he talks about how he was a little worried that the movement was headed in the direction of Stokely Carmichael, but John Lewis eventually won. And you need to thank Bill Clinton. Now, again, I'm not a big fan of Bill Clinton for one important reason. Bill Clinton, if you recall, Bill Clinton, your first black president, your buddy, he was the guy that sent more black men to prison than any president in recent American history. Bill Clinton unleashed a Holocaust on black people unlike anything we'd seen since the beginnings of Jim Crow or pre-Reconstruction, since slavery. Jim Crow, I said Jim Crow, that's a Freudian slip. Bill Clinton, I said Jim Crow, I meant to say Bill Clinton, isn't that funny? Bill Clinton unleashed a can of whoop ass on the black community in the 1990s that is still affecting you today. If you ever want to see the result of Bill Clinton's policies on mass incarceration and the impact it's had on young people, go watch any reality TV show and watch how they've got black mental illness on full display. I'm sorry, shame on you, Mona, whatever your name is, who makes all those stupid reality shows, Love and Hip Hop and all that. You should be ashamed, because you profit from that dysfunction that is destroying families and destroying communities. Look at how many of those poor kids have parents that were in prison, or they grew up with parents that were on drugs, or both. And you can see what the can of Bill Clinton whoop ass looks like on the black community 20 or 30 years later. So Bill Clinton is a guy where I think that those of you who are evolved, this is for intelligent Black people. This is not for unevolved people, right? Unevolved people are still stuck where their brain was in 1996. Evolved people should reconsider their relationship with Bill Clinton. You should reconsider your relationship with Bill Clinton for the same reason that there has to be a point where you have to ask yourself, okay, Black people are so loving. Why is it that we will know that Uncle Willie has touched 3 or 4 little girls in the family, but we still keep inviting Uncle Willie to the family barbecue? Why is it that nobody's ever confronted Uncle Willie and said, we know what you've done to the little girls in the family. You can't come back no more. Wait, seriously, why is it that we will do that? Think about this. A lot of y'all got families like that. You have somebody in your family that you know has been doing dirt on other members of the family, but you'll keep bringing them and inviting them to the family barbecue because you don't want to deal with those tough conversations. Well, Bill Clinton, or AKA Slick Willie, is basically Uncle Willie who keeps getting invited to the family barbecue, even though you know he has molested all the little girls in the family, right? I don't understand for the life of me why whenever there is a significant Black event, whenever a significant person in the Black community or a relevant person or a popular person dies in the Black community, particularly if they are politically connected to the Democratic Party, why Bill Clinton in his raggedy ass is always sitting in the front row, invited up there to speak, greeted as a hero, and loved by the very same community that he dedicated a big chunk of his presidency to absolutely decimating. And to this day, he still has not worked to rectify the damage that he caused. He's acknowledged it. You must give him credit for acknowledging it, but acknowledgement is not the same as a full-throated apology, and an apology is not the same as a correction of the damage that you've done. They have not paid reparations for what they did to Black people, and I think that's a big part of the reason why your wife did not get elected to the White House. You got the majority of Black folks to come out and support you, but you didn't get that small group of us who are more evolved, who are evolved enough to say, we ain't falling for the same okie doke. We're not down for that. You have not acknowledged your sins in an adequate fashion. And so therefore, we're not going to be as savage as you are. We're not going to go out there and get revenge on you. But guess what? We're taking care of ours first. And we've learned the hard way that we can't trust you to follow through on damn near anything that you say you're going to do for the Black community. Let's move on. Hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the thumbs up button. Let me just take a moment and acknowledge. Thank you, Anya Israel, for your donation. I appreciate it. And thank you, Janae. Is that Janae A. Dozier Smith? Thanks for sticking to the facts. You are welcome. That's my goal. My goal is to stick to the facts. All right. So moving on. Hit the thumbs up button, please. Please hit the thumbs up button and make sure you subscribe and everything. Our goal is to grow. Our goal is to think. All right. So here's what I read when I was, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I was so happy and so relieved that other people saw what I saw. That when Bill Clinton made his remark, I put stuff up on my Instagram and I kind of looked to see, like, what are people thinking? Maybe because sometimes, because I'm a weirdo, I know I live on another planet. I know this, right? So sometimes I'll be thinking, maybe I'm just seeing too much. Maybe my brain has advanced too much on this. Do other people see what I'm seeing? And I was so happy that other people saw what I saw with this Stokely Carmichael comment, because Bill Clinton, you actually probably want to thank him a little bit because he gave you a little bit of insight into the game. He revealed something that they typically don't want to reveal. He revealed he revealed the power of the divide and conquer strategy that is often used by any overseer to keep their power in place. He revealed this idea that, look, we're going to support the John Lewises so that we can reject the Stokely Carmichaels, right? Or like that rabbi that went and spoke with Nick Cannon. He's like, look, I'm going to accept the Nick Cannons so that I can go in front of Nick Cannon and blast Louis Farrakhan, right? If you watch that interview between the rabbi and Nick Cannon, he blasted Farrakhan, and Nick Cannon didn't do enough to stand up for Farrakhan, right? Because Nick, they got his testicles in the sling. We know how it is. We know what it is, right? That's why Nick is not in a position to necessarily lead the community, but he can contribute. He just can't be a leader. right? He's not in a position to do that, right? Or when you recall, what was it? Oh gosh, let me get, when Bill Clinton was speaking years ago, give me a yes or no if you remember this. Remember when Bill Clinton was speaking and he had Jesse Jackson over here, and I think it was Sister Soldier over here, and so he blasted Sister Soldier right in front of Jesse Jackson. And I love Jesse Jackson. I know the Jackson family, and I love them very much, but Jesse didn't say nothing. Jesse sat there and smiled. Right. Another example. What are some other examples? When you can say we love Barack Obama, but we hate Jeremiah Wright. Right. When Jeremiah Wright was the fuel, he was the booster that propelled Barack Obama to become the man that he is. He was the guy that loved Barack Obama before white people even knew who he was. He loved Barack Obama when he didn't have enough money to afford a rental car. He loved Barack Obama when people didn't even care enough to take the time to learn how to pronounce his name. But now that these folks have decided that they like you, that they've embraced you, they will pull in one group of you and they will reject the other because they want to divide the slaves so they can control the plantation. And Barack Obama himself, remember, Barack Obama is a black man for sure, but he's not 100% black. He's a black man, but he's not 100% black. He's as much white as he is black. So the white side of Barack Obama became president of the United States. First thing he did was he pulled in Al Sharpton and pushed out Jesse Jackson. Divide and conquer. He pulled in Michael Eric Dyson. He pushed out Cornel West, right? So he pulls in, the chosen Negroes in the community, but you're rejecting the Dr. Claude Andersons who actually have something important to say, right? So anybody who does that, anybody who pulls in some of you and rejects the other half of you is not usually your friend. They're using a tactic that is used politically, that's been used since the beginning of time to make sure that you can control the masses. You go back to Rwanda, the Hutus and the Tutsis were slaughtering each other. You got brothers killing brothers because the Europeans came in and said, we're going to take in some of you, but we're going to reject the rest of you and then propel some of you to power and put some of you down into poverty. And then the ones in poverty are going to hate the ones in power, when really you need to look at the master that's controlling the whole damn cage. The person controlling the cage is the one who set the landscape that has led you to want to go out and take each other out and kill each other. The Vietnam War, another example where you had the North Vietnamese saying, wait, my cousin is in South Vietnam. Now I'm murdering my cousin because I'm sided with the communists and he sided with the Americans. Now our whole country is decimated because we are now cannibalizing one another because of divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. Bill Clinton gave you insight in his slick little comment on how divide and conquer works, not just here, but it has worked all throughout the world. Because I'm gonna tell you that man uses the same tricks in Africa that he uses in Chicago. He uses the same tricks in Southeast Asia that he uses in Detroit. The same things that were used to fight World War II are the same tactics that are used to divide you in the Democratic Party, right? So the reason that things like B1 become so important is because B1 means we're going to just be black first, that the blackness is going to matter more than anything else. So you can't divide us on all these other horizontal issues. You can't divide us based on gender. You're not going to divide us based on sexuality. You're not going to divide us based on income level. You're not going to divide us based on education level. That I can be a bougie Negro who lives out in the suburbs and I'm still going to support George Floyd in the hood. And that's when people like that get scared because they're not used to seeing that level of unity when it comes to the accumulation of power. So by Bill Clinton saying, we really, with John won, we're really glad that John won over Stokely. That is incredibly disrespectful to Stokely. And those who really understand what we're trying to do as black people should stand up and say, sorry, Bill, but I like John, but I like Stokely too. Right. And I think that at the end of the day, I think we have to be really thoughtful about how these strategies work and really kind of understand this. And this is why the Stokeleys are so important. And not just the Stokely Carmichaels. You can go deeper. You can talk about the Dr. Claude Andersons and black nationalism in general and individuals who believe in the importance of do for self. the do for self mindset, one that doesn't exclude the possibility that you're going to allow other people to provide some level of support. The do for self mindset is very basic. It really just says, we got this. It really just kind of says, you know, that we understand the only way to truly have freedom is when you can do things for yourself, right? If you think about a little baby doesn't really have freedom because a little baby can't do a lot of things for themselves. A little baby cannot feed himself. If the baby's young enough, the baby can't even walk by himself, right? The baby can't use the bathroom by himself. So a baby doesn't have freedom. And to some extent, you're politically like an infant. Many of us are political children. We're economic children in the sense that not only can we not do things for ourselves, we become connected and indoctrinated and deeply committed to systems that ensure that we never learn to do things for ourselves, right? So we might make fun of Kanye West's crazy ass because we know Kanye needs some meds, right? But every now and then that broke clock is right a couple of times a day, and every now and then Kanye will say something that does reflect the genius that lies within his mental illness. I believe he's got mental illness, but I also believe he's a genius. And one thing that Kanye said that I thought was great was, he said, how come in school they don't teach you how to go get a bunch of land and learn how to farm the land so you can grow your own food and take care of yourself? How come in school they don't teach us how to go buy a home so we can own property and actually build wealth? How come they teach us how to go get a job but don't teach us how to go start a business so we can actually create our own job and take care of ourselves? Right? So doing for self is not some sort of crazy radical idea that just doesn't make sense, right? It only seems crazy and radical because you were trained to think that way. It only seems crazy and radical when I talk about doing for self and people think that that's crazy or that's extreme or whatever. It's only crazy, radical, and extreme in the mind of somebody who is politically and economically and socially immature. If you're immature, then you say, what would you think you could do for yourself? That doesn't make any sense. That's like expecting a baby to get in a car and drive himself to work. A baby can't do that. Black people can't do that. Well, when you say that, what you're saying is that black people are political and economic babies. You're saying that it sounds crazy to you when I say, let's build a Black Wall Street. And you say, well, that sounds crazy, Doc. What are you talking about? What you're really kind of saying is that you're committed to black people maintaining an infant status in this society. But what you're also admitting in your comment is that you truly don't really want black people to be free, right? So let's go back to the civil rights movement and why I respectfully will challenge some of the assumptions that were made in the civil rights movement. What was the civil rights movement about? What was one of the biggest things that they talked about? They talked about this thing called freedom. The word freedom was used quite regularly in the civil rights movement. When they talk about the legacy of John Lewis, they say, what was he fighting for? He was fighting for freedom. Okay, so what does that mean? What is freedom and what was he fighting for and how does that connect with the concept of freedom? Okay, freedom means basically, and we can even Google this. Maybe we can Google this. This is on the fly. So let's see here. Let's see what the definition of freedom is. Please hit the thumbs up button. Is the power or right, this is according to Webster's dictionary, it is the power or the right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. Another definition, it is the absence of subjugation to foreign domination or despotic government. So let's process this for a moment. Freedom. So in the civil rights movement, the thing that we were fighting for was freedom. Okay, makes sense. All right. So let's look at the definition of freedom. The power or the right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. So we fought for freedom in the civil rights movement. The civil rights movement was a glaring success. You celebrate this in school every year. That's what white people tell you to do. Nick Cannon goes out and says something that pisses off the Jewish community, right? I don't care if you agree or disagree with what Nick said. That's not the point. But Nick Cannon says something that he gets on with Professor Griff. They get to talking like black men as brothers in their own space, minding their own damn business. And they say something that pisses off all these people in Hollywood. Next thing you know, Nick is getting shut down. Next thing you know, Nick is being told that you must apologize. Does that sound like freedom to you? Give me a yes or no. Give me a yes or no in the chat if you think that the Nick Cannon incident, I'm picking this one particular incident, but this incident is a microcosm of the Black experience in America. A lot of y'all been shut down on your own damn jobs. A lot of y'all been shut down in numerous ways. So does that sound like freedom to you? Does that sound like the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint? Was Nick hindered from speaking, acting, and thinking the way he wanted? Was he restrained in some way? Well, if he was either hindered or restrained, then Nick ain't free. That ain't freedom. So what that it means at the very least is you don't have to agree with my philosophy on anything, but it definitely means that you must agree that whatever it was that we thought we were fighting for in the 60s, whatever we gained in the 60s, that might have been freedom-like, but it wasn't freedom itself. Right? That was like the cheap substitute for freedom. Maybe that was the illusion of freedom. Or maybe you think you have freedom when somebody else grants you freedom, but that ain't really freedom because you're not free from the person who allegedly granted you the freedom in the first place. If a child says, "Mommy, I want freedom to go outside and play," and the mommy says, "Okay, you can go outside, but you got to come back in at 10 o'clock. Well, the child's going to say, "I'm free. My mommy gave me freedom." But really, you don't really have freedom because you still got parents that are going to tell you what to do. When your boss gives you freedom and your boss says, "Okay, you can go to the bathroom now, or you can go home at 5 o'clock, you might think that that's freedom. It may feel like freedom until he puts the hammer on your ass and says, "We need this project done by Tuesday, so you're going to stay later. And if you don't want to stay later, then you can go without a job. And if you go without a job, then you can find a way to feed your kids your damn self. So you stay there despite the fact that you really want to go home." So if you look at the definition, you go back to the definition of freedom, the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint, then what you must logically conclude at the end of the day is that 99.9% of y'all ain't free right now. 99.9% of our community is not free. So let's go deeper than that. This is why I'm going to do a little Malcolm on y'all. I'm not a real Malcolm X. I'm a cheap substitute for Malcolm X. He's a better speaker. He's a smarter man. He's a greater man than I can ever be. But I'm going to go a little Malcolm X. Malcolm ain't here to speak, so I'm going to try to speak on his behalf and try to hopefully help you understand why a do for self philosophy must be incorporated in your quest for freedom. And it goes back, a shout out to my mama, because my mama actually taught me what freedom was when I was a kid. And let me explain how my mama taught me about freedom. My mama, one time when I was a teenager, I got I started growing up. I had a little bass in my voice. I had a little hair on my chest. I really thought that I was a man. And I was telling my mama that I'm going to do what I want to do because I'm a man now. I can do whatever I want to do. And you know what my mom said? She said, "You don't have freedom because you don't pay no motherfucking bills up in this house." She said, "The day that you can pay your own bills is the day you can do what you want to do. Until that time, me and your father are running this house. And this is not a democracy. This is a dictatorship." So at that moment, I understood when my mother told me, "You ain't paying no bills up in this house. You're not going to do what you want to do." I gained a more refined understanding of what freedom actually looks like. So the next step I took was I said, okay, I really want to be free. I want to do what I want. I want to bring my girlfriend over when I want to. I want to come and go as I please. So I said, okay, so freedom is not for children. Freedom is for grown folks. Freedom is not for the person who is disabled. Freedom is for the person who's enabled, right? Freedom is not for the powerless person. Freedom is for the person who empowers themselves. So I said, I'm going to figure out how to go out here and get some money so that I can pay my own bills, so I can achieve a more refined reality when it comes to freedom in my life. So for Black people, the bottom line is this. You didn't really get freedom in the 1960s. You got the illusion of freedom. And the reason that it's an illusion is because you were never empowered with the ability to do many things for yourselves that other people are doing for you now. Similar to an infant, there are many situations where certain things in your lives, in your community, will not get done unless somebody else gets it done for you. And that's just the reality, right? A lot of us can't even get our own food. We can't defend ourselves, right? A lot of us can't even pay our bills without somebody giving us a job. So do for self, that philosophy that you've been taught is so extreme and so radical and so crazy and anti-white and everything else, do for self must be incorporated as part of the action plan of any Black person who truly wants to be free. Again, I go back to the definition of freedom. Freedom is the power or the right to act or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. Translation, I'm gonna do what I want to do and can't nobody tell me different, right? Like Kanye West used to say in that song, just wait till I get my money, right? So basically you're saying, like, when I'm in a position where I have what I need and I can get what I need, at that point, I am truly free. So my argument, again, going deeper into that, is that I don't think Democrats are all that interested in Black freedom. I think the reason that Bill Clinton loved the John Lewises and he hated the Stokely Carmichaels and probably hated the Malcolm X's and he definitely would hate the Dr. Claude Andersons is because those guys, those individuals pushed you more toward freedom. They pushed you more toward a situation where you don't really need anybody else to give you permission when it comes to getting the things you need and doing what you want to do. When it comes to what you think, how you act, how you speak, you can do so without hindrance or restraint when you have the ability to take care of yourself. So, so when I listen to a lot of the liberal talk, which is really fascinating to me, I hear them say things like that almost sound to me like, don't try to solve your own problems. We'll solve them for you. Just make sure you show up and you vote for us in the next election. Don't learn anything about investing. All that. Those are just the greedy capitalists. They're all vultures and they're going to take advantage of you. They're predators and you're victims. And so we don't want you to learn anything about investing because that's just those greedy, dirty capitalists, whatever, right? So you never learn how to invest. When you think about things like just basic land and home ownership, there's not much conversation there because it's like, yeah, you can own more homes, but you can't afford them because you're poor, because you're Black and you're a victim. And but if you elect us, we're gonna go and we're gonna get a policy done with Joe Biden that's gonna make sure that every Black person can buy a home. Well, some would almost argue that right now Black people can buy homes. In fact, there's evidence of that. How many of you, raise your hand if you know at least one Black person who owns a home? Raise your hand if you know a Black person who owns a house or has bought some shares of stock. Raise your hand. Maybe you're that person. Say something in the chat. Give me a yes if you know at least one Black person who owns some stock. Give me a yes or no if you know at least one Black person who owns a house. Give me a yes or no in the chat if you know at least one Black person who owns a business. And then also give me a yes or no if you believe that your Black friends, think about your friend who's the most financially independent and the most empowered, and give me a yes or no if you think that those individuals are freer than people who are less economically empowered. Give me a yes if those people seem to be free. Like you're out living your best life, you're taking Instagram pictures from Tahiti and shit. Right, you're going to the movies on a Tuesday afternoon after your afternoon nap, right? Like does that's not perfect freedom. I'm not trying to condense something as important and as spiritual as pure freedom to just a financial endeavor. But what I am saying to you is that do for self should be incorporated in the personal policy of any individual who hopes to get closer to freedom. So now it does not mean that the Democrats can't be beneficial to you. Right? Maybe some of their policies will make it easier for you to obtain the freedom, but it's not as if they're making it possible when it was impossible before. It wasn't impossible before, it was just hard, right? It wasn't that you couldn't do these things, it was that it was just really difficult. right? So maybe they can make it easier. And for that reason, they can be a part of your freedom plan as well. I'm not telling you not to support that. I'm not telling you not to applaud some of what John Lewis did, but really when you talk about where to allocate your energy, and let's go back to talking about that John Lewis funeral. And again, I want to say this with complete respect. This is not me disrespecting anybody. This is me just telling you the truth. I owe you the truth. I would be disrespecting you if I lied to you. When I think about how hard it must have been for John Lewis to sit in the Woolworths or whatever that store was and get his brains knocked out to the point where there's blood coming down his face, all so he can get the chance to go spend money at that store. If I were his friend, I would say, I think that there's probably a better way to get this done. If I were his friend, I'd probably say, let's think about this for a minute. If you're going to go through the pain of a severe ass whooping, maybe there are other things we would take an ass whooping for that might be a little bit more beneficial to our lives, right? Maybe I'll take an ass whooping for the right to start my own business. Or maybe I'll let you beat my brains out because I'm determined to go own some property or whatever it is. But I don't really know if getting your ass beat so you can go shop at a white man's store, and that's what it is. I'm sorry. Y'all might get mad at me. I hate to make anybody mad, but I got to tell the truth. I don't know if that's something that is out of a damn sci-fi movie, because that's some shit that somebody had to plant in your brain on a very deep level for you to even think that is logical at all, right? That tells you the mental illness that is created through racism and oppression and Jim Crow and slavery and everything we've gone through, because only mental illness would guide you to think that it makes sense. Seriously, if I told somebody, look, you can't shop in my business, I don't want you here, and they came in and literally allowed themselves to get beat half to death, and after we beat them half to death, they're laying on the hospital bed, bloody, brain damaged, everything else, and then I say, okay, you win, I'm gonna give you your freedom. Now where's your wallet at? We're gonna empty your wallet, and I'm gonna give you all the butter biscuits we got in the back. You can buy all my products now. I surrender. You win, right? And they're like, yes, we won. I have the right to give you all my money. That don't even make no damn sense. It's just true. So what I just want to say to you is, at the end of the day, I think, without being disrespectful of what other people did in their time, in their way, most of us probably would have thought the same way back then. But the reason you make progress, the reason you move forward, the reason you want the next generation to do a little bit better than the previous is that you must have the courage to challenge certain ideas and say, that wasn't it. That ain't it. Right? So let's go back to the basic definition of freedom. Freedom is the power or the right to act, speak, or think as one wants without hindrance or restraint. So in your life, I want to come back to you. This ain't about Bill Clinton. This ain't about John Lewis. This ain't about Stokely Carmichael. This ain't about me. This is about you and your family. And I want you to look into the areas of your life that matter to you and ask yourself, am I truly free? Do I have the power or the right to act, speak, and think as I want without hindrance or restraint? And what you're going to find when you really seek out freedom, because I've meditated on freedom, like, what does it mean to be free? Am I free? Like, what does that mean? And in the areas where I'm not free, am I okay with the trade-off? Am I okay with being restrained? And I thought about it, and when I really processed it on a very deep level, I realized that sometimes you find out weird things when you meditate on freedom. Like, you find out sometimes that the oppressor in your life is actually you. Many Black folks blame white people for restraints they feel that are actually self-imposed. Seriously, think about this. How many of you know at least one person whose life is a complete mess and they're the one who continuously destroys their own life? But if you ask that person, why is your life a mess? They will always blame somebody else. They might blame the white man, or the white man ain't hiring the white man, or they might blame their parents. They might blame their cousins, right? There are people like that who literally oppress themselves and kill their own ability to be free and don't even know that they're doing it, right? So what I'm just going to tell you to do is that I think, and in fact, I think that's the greatest enemy, actually. This is actually going to sound really weird that I'm saying this after I spent all this time kind of talking about what white people are doing to us, and I acknowledge all of that. But at the end of the day, what I found was my greatest oppressor was a guy named Boyce Watkins. Like, he was the son of a bitch who was oppressing me and keeping me from going for what I wanted. When I looked at freedom and I said, do I have the ability the right to act, speak, and think as I want without hindrance or restraint, I realized that 9 times out of 10, when I wasn't doing what I needed to do, it was because I didn't have the courage to do it. It was because I was stopping myself. Maybe you stop yourself with insecurity and self-doubt. Now, that's a big one. Maybe you stop yourself because you're lazy as fuck and you're making excuses, right? That's a big one we all have to confront. Maybe you stop yourself because you don't feel like you're worthy. Maybe you stop yourself because you're afraid of offending people, right? So in a lot of ways, I can't say I'm even speaking to you as a completely free man, but I can definitely say that I'm speaking to you in a way that is not hindered or restrained, in a way that I probably couldn't have spoken to you 15 years ago because I was oppressing myself. So rather than focusing on getting rid of the oppression submitted by white people, we know that's real. We know that they're going to try to maintain their power in whatever way they can. I encourage you to start within. Fight the oppression within. Fight the doubt within. Fight the insecurities. Fight all the things within that are stopping you from becoming your best self. Because I guarantee you that if you really live in your purpose and you're committed to giving 100% and you get off your lazy ass and start giving 100% to everything you do every single day of the week, no matter what, no matter who's in the way, no matter what's going on, eliminate all the distractions, ain't no white man ever invented in the history of this world that can stop you from achieving whatever the hell it is you want to do. So at the end of the day, let's all go be free. Shout out to John Lewis, Stokely Carmichael, and everybody else who made their contribution. Now it's time for us to take this thing over. So let's do it right. I got to go, guys. I got a meeting. It was great talking to you. I hope that this was helpful to you. This came from the heart. Half of this I didn't expect to talk about today, but this is how I feel. This is the philosophy that I aim to live by. And I think it works. I really think it works. So take care, everybody. If you could share this video, please share it. Also, make sure you subscribe to drboycetv.com. This is the home for intelligent Black people. Some of you are asking about shirts like this. We have shirts like this at wokeblacktees.com. That's wokeblacktees.com. And I want to say thank you to James Brown for your donation. He says, I met you when you were in ATL at the West End. Thanks for doing your thing. We talked about the Monique interview you did. Keep bringing knowledge. Yes, I love Monique. I got to bring Monique back. Her husband, Sydney's really cool too. Tracy Jackson, thank you for your donation. So thank you guys for all your support. I love you. And also I want to remind you next weekend, the weekend of August 7th, we're doing the Black Stock Market Weekend. So it's all about stocks, all about investing. So if you'd like to join us for the Black Stock Market Weekend, feel free to go to blackstockmarketweekend.com. That's blackstockmarketweekend.com. So I'm out of here, guys. Have a good day. Thank you for listening, and I will see you soon. Be good. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.